Hi everyone, welcome to Maude's Book Club. Back-to-back interviews. Who are we over here? I'll tell you who we are. I'm Maude. We're chatting Will of the Many. We've done it all September for Maude's Book Club. A lot of conversations were had. Now, this author, and my bias, 100%, fellow Aussie, I think this is the first time in Maude's Book Club iteration about. Without further ado, we're going to go full spoilers here as well. Why aren't you working? I didn't do a check. I thought everything was great and it's not. And we're already live. There's two of me in the stream right now, mirror imaged. So give me 2 seconds. But as we're having this conversation, we've got your voice only. James, give us the spiel about how you got into this whole thing. Because we were talking before the show went, there you are. It's a live reveal like it's a magician's trick coming out of the rabbit's hat. Is she professional? Listen, not even on a good day. There you go, James. You're in the stream right now. Woohoo! We made it. We made it. How'd you get into writing? Because apparently you had and this is really inspirational, especially for people like my brother who are writing a book as well. You've done the boring day job and you went, you know what, not my actual dream. I'd like to write. And you had this epiphany at 30 that you were like, you know what, I'm going to give this a nudge. And then the rest is history. So tell me the story.
So I was doing a coding job basically with a friend of mine. It was it was fine. It was going well enough, but it wasn't very interesting. And I hit 30 and I'd always wanted to write. And so I just kind of on my 30th birthday sat down and went, I think it's time to give this a shot. And so I wrote The Shadow of What Was Lost in about a year.
That's pretty good.
It was great. It was I was in a really good position in my life then. I was married but no kids. So I still had a little bit of free time.
We call that the dink phase, which is where you can actually get shit done. Double income, no kids.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. And I kind of worked night and day on that. And finished what I thought was a pretty good draft, got some beta readers. That was great. Started going around to agents, which was a depressing and crushing experience, because you send off your manuscript and wait 6 to 8 weeks, and then you get back a form reply saying, "Sorry, no thanks." So I went through that process for it was probably a year, and then I had this opportunity to, just through Pat Rothfuss's World Builders charity, to get him to actually read my manuscript, which was an incredible chance.
How many words did you send Patrick just to peruse over with some notes?
It was like 250,000 words.
Just a cheeky quarter mil.
Yeah. Which I got to be honest, I think when he agreed to do it, I don't think he realized it was going to be that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it might be a short story or a paragraph or a concept. Meanwhile, you're just like, dunk.
Yep, exactly right. But no, he was incredible. He was so gracious with his time. He not only read the whole thing, and he printed out the manuscript and he wrote on it, and he physically mailed that back to me, which I still have. And all of his notes were great, but then he also, once I got that manuscript, he video called me, and it was like 5 hours of him going through the notes. It's the thing that he absolutely didn't need to do. But it was so useful to me because, partly because obviously he was far more experienced than me as a writer. And so just getting his perspective on things was great. But, I love Name of the Wind.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite books.
Oh, you mean this book? Wait, everything else is going to collapse on me.
Oh, that's a nice version of it.
Isn't that pretty?
That's so nice. Man, I wish I had that version. I've got a hardcover, but I don't have one that nice. But yeah, so this is probably the guy at that point that I admired the most out of any writer. And for him to take that time out and then at the end to say, I think you've got something here. I think this is, obviously it needs work. Obviously it's, you're a first time writer and there's improvements to be made. But for him to then say, I enjoyed it. I think that there's something here. I think you could be published, was a real, I kind of needed that boost.
Yeah.
Because again, you go around to agents and you start to feel, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this is it.
You almost got like the professor of fantasy writing to give you not just one-on-one time, but like a full-on editing process with feedback.
Yeah.
Do you think
absolutely
you'd have the success that you'd have today without him almost catapulting you in that particular way, having such a hands-on experience?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know whether I would have necessarily given up. I think I enjoyed the process that I would have kept on writing. I probably would have eventually self-published. But just getting that perspective and some of the things that he explained to me about how he approaches plot and writing generally have stuck with me. The book that I'm working on now, like I've got those in mind still.
What are you working on now?
I'm working on the third book of Heirarchy at the moment.
How far in are we?
About 2/3 of the way through a first draft, which is not bad. It's sort of 150,000 words, maybe.
Isn't 150,000 words what you said the first book would be?
Yeah.
And wasn't it ended up, didn't you then write like 255,000 and the editor had to come in with their sewing kit?
Yeah. It turns out I'm not very good at writing short stories. Not that 150,000 is short, but one of the things that I really wanted to do when I finished Lacanius was I was like, you know what? I want to write something shorter, something that I can get it finished more quickly. I can put out more books more consistently. I was very enthusiastic about the idea, and then the story took as long as it took, and I think Will of the Many's 240 in the end. So we managed to cut 15,000 words off it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of those words are well spent.
That's the thing. This was never going to be 150,000 words. Your concept is very dense. There's a lot happening in this book, and you keep like not shoehorning, but like concrete malleting more and more concepts with this book as well. It was very, very fun to listen to. The pacing I thought was fantastic. There was always something going on. You were either listening or you were feeling, I guess is the way to say it, because a concept that I really, really liked was stakes and scale. And immediately you're thrust into sort of this like terrorist situation in the stadium where tens of thousands of people are dying. And my brain, like I always just latch onto pop culture concepts like snippets, and that's what it is. And this one for me was Independence Day when they were blowing up the White House. That's what this was for me.
I can see
that. And you're just like, what are you doing? And I've just thought, I wasn't wearing my seatbelt reading this, and that's my bad. Now I have to like buckle up and we're in. And I thought that was really well done. And then it would constantly like have these moments of learning and then, thrusting full of action again. I guess I'm just telling you about your book. There was supposed to be a question in there, but I had to just keep yapping. All that to say is it's obviously 250,000. I guess one of the questions that I did have in there, who out of an author did you kind of see doing shorter fantasy books and think that's an author who's demonstrated short books work and I'd like to do that?
Yeah, and I mean, again, 150,000 words is not necessarily short, but I mean, guys like, I think Joe Abercrombie's books are sort of maybe 150, 160,000. I don't know for sure.
I've got to stop doing this. This is not. Oh, you mean this Joe Abercrombie? Okay.
I have that set.
You've got this one.
Yes,
okay.
I've got that exact set.
Okay, good.
But I am traditionally I'm not really into grimdark. But I love Joe Abercrombie's stuff. I think he's fantastic, and his books still feel really deep and complete. But again, they are that little bit shorter. I think I'm working from memory now. But I think part of it was just that I felt like it was something I could probably do, and again, it turned out I was wrong. But yeah, Joe's probably the one that I would point to the most.
In your follow-up,
Yep.
including all of the locations and glossary and major character, I'll try and get an acknowledgements. 707 pages.
Yeah, so that one's. I knew it was going to be longer even when I started, but I think and it's not actually that much longer. I think it's maybe 255,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, marginally longer.
This is not me shaming you at all, by the way.
No,
the more the merrier. I love a chunky book. Like if it's a great story, the more of it is better, I say. Because I was just like, we've gotten 255,000 words now. No, this is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because one of the reasons is that the third book of Lacanius is 280,000 words. And that was with me cutting a big chunk of story that I ended up deciding, well, I'm going to write this later. This can work as a standalone. It's not necessary for the main plot. But if I hadn't cut that, the outline, if I'd just gone off the outline of the book, it would have been like 400,000 words long.
Wow.
And which was one of the motivations for trying to write something shorter. But I think part of it was the switch to first person perspective. I think you've got like a lot more sort of internal monologue.
Yeah.
And so in outline it felt shorter.
Interesting.
But then in the actual writing, and I tried to write it fairly tightly, but yeah, just because of that addition, I think it probably added to the word count a bit. I think it was a good thing, but yeah.
And you were saying that writing in present tense first person is actually preferable for you now.
Absolutely. I really enjoy it. And I'm still feeling that way even, 3 books in, which is great. Yeah, it's not that I'll never go back to third person. But just the immediacy of it makes it really, it gives it a lot of momentum. At least in my head, that it's very hard to recreate in third person. It's a really different experience, and I really enjoy the first person perspective and really getting in one character's head and having to work around, I guess, the limitation of you've only got this person's perspective. You can't suddenly go broad and have 10 characters, Game of Thrones style or Wheel of Time style, to see all the different parts of the world. You've really got to figure out how to tell or convey the scale of something just from one perspective, which is, I find it's a really enjoyable challenge.
Well, it almost suits the chosen one trope as well, even though is Viz a chosen one? Would you identify with that trope? Not really.
Not really. I think I think he's very talented. But no, I don't really see him as a chosen one.
Okay. Because he was born that way.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's true. And he's certainly got he's got all the advantages of the upbringing. I guess, when I think of chosen ones, it's the destined to save the world type character, which it's not necessarily where it's going.
I've got it. Reluctant hero.
Yeah.
This just wants to. I wondered how long it would take before I went to Aussie, and I just caught myself. This just wants to slump on the dole all day, mate. Like.
That's right.
I haven't said that.
Just wants to be a dole bludger. Absolutely.
All right, for all the non-Australians, which is pretty much every other person here, what we're trying to say is he just wants to take government compensation to do very, very little. But it was interesting having sort of this reluctant hero where he's just like, I want to disappear. I want to make sure no one bothers me. I don't want to be caught up in things. I've been given a second chance at life, and that's to not have this destiny weighing on me. I just don't want to cede. And I want to mind my business. And it's so interesting because when you do have the chosen one, they're constantly battling with, I don't think I'm good enough, but I have to be. Whereas Viz is just like, I've done all of that. I don't want to do that again. I just want, I want to be exempt from a chosen one sort of aspect, but the destiny chose him.
Yep, exactly right.
Actually, that brings me to a great question that I have from one of our club members. And if you want to be a club member and submit questions, you absolutely can get more details of that in the chat. Where is it? Blue Shell said, did you ever consider having Viz downplay his skills at the academy to avoid suspicion? Or was it always important for him to stand out so early?
I think... I mean, I did consider it because obviously, he's a smart guy, and that would be a sensible thing to do. But I think just the time pressure of him needing to, get to class 3, so that he could get the opportunity to then disappear after the academy, and then having to start in class 7, I think. He kind of knows that he has to impress, and he has to kind of do everything he can to keep on rising, because I think it's been 3 years since I wrote it, so I'm just trying to remember. But he comes in 6 months late, so he's only got a year effectively to rise from class 7 to class 3, and he knows that that's meant to be very, very difficult. So I think it's more of a time pressure thing than any desire to hide his abilities. I think it's more of it's more important for him to do that than to hide his abilities.
Also, I would argue Viz is cocky as fuck.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Loves
a competition, knows he's going to win. Can't help but flex a little.
And does not like to lose. Is very competitive.
Who did you base Viz on? Where did that inspiration come from?
The competitive side of things is a little bit me. I've got a board games group that will, if they see this, they will laugh. It's a running joke. I'd like to think I'm not a bad loser.
How many boards have you flipped?
No, I'm very competitive. And I still, even though I'm old now, I play basketball. And I still really enjoy that just as an outlet. I love games. I love gaming. Competition's a big thing for me.
What are you playing in your board game group? What's a good game that you've enjoyed?
We've got lots of games. What's one we played recently? A game called Nemesis. It's kind of a semi-co-op. You're in a spaceship, and it's like an aliens simulator, basically, where there's aliens on the loose, and you've got these objectives, and you can choose an objective which is kind of the nice, let's try and let everybody win. This is secret personal objectives. Or you can choose an objective which is effectively screw over the other players, but you will win.
Oh, so it's like a hidden mafia-esque or traitors.
Yeah, with it's great. It's great. It's I think there was one game where I had a mission to kill one of the other players, and you play along for a while, and then they walked into a room where the queen alien was, and they were like, come and help me, and I locked the door. just left them in the room to it, and they died. It was great. I wasn't necessarily popular at that point. But...
Yeah, but you won.
I won.
That's what matters. I'm in a mafia group in LA over here where I play with a lot of actors. Actually, a lot of people where I'm like, oh, I've seen your movies, and now I'm like trying to kill you at night. I'm not an actor. I am good at the game. It's probably not a compliment. But what I'm trying to say is I relate to you. Jay Buntrock in the chat says, I have all the Nemesis Kickstarters with 3 exclamation marks. Yeah. Academic says, WTF, there are mafia groups? Dude, I've been playing for over 10 years. Yes, there are mafia groups. You just have to blatantly lie to your friends' faces. I was going to say a lot of fun, but it's not even. Like if you're good at it, you're just like, I'm really sorry. I've got questions here from Vaden, who says, this thought-provoking book poses many questions to the reader, leaving the large majority of them unanswered for the first book. And we have to get back into the Will of Many mindset, and I'm sorry because you're heavily in the throes of book 3 structure. For the first novel in a series, how did you decide how much to be the subject of speculation and what to confirm?
Yeah, I mean, I really like, between books, I really like leaving a decent amount of loose ends. I think, especially for these books where you've got 2.5 years between them. Like you guys are pretty lucky. The second one's now coming out in a month. But you want to give readers something to talk about in the meantime and think about, and so I do try and leave a lot of loose ends, I guess, in between books, because, and the other thing is that you want to treat the story as a series. Obviously there are some series which work perfectly well, which essentially every book is a standalone. But the way I tend to conceptualize series is that this is one big story, and then every book is an arc, but there's still an overarching story.
And you've known the end game when you first started the book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The way I tend to plot out is all of the major story beats across the whole series. I know very much where I want to go and where I want characters to end up and where I want the world to end up and all that sort of stuff. And then as I write, I still improvise a little bit, sort of color in between, I guess. But I've always got the skeleton there that I'm always got an end game I'm working towards.
Is that something that Pat taught you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that he talked about was plotting. It's very, very nerdy, but it's plotting in like bell curves. So you've got your, you say you've got your book and you've got the big bell curve of this is the big story arc. But then you've got all these subs, these side stories or sub stories or whatever you want to call them, and there's smaller curves, but they're overlapping. So you're always starting a new subplot before you're finishing a previous plot, and so they're always overlapping, and so there's always something beginning and ending, and it gives the story this real sense of momentum. And that was, again, like, obviously this is something he told me nearly 15 years ago, and it's stuck in my head, and it's just valuable advice.
I was going to say it's almost kaleidoscopic because I picture things, and that's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that it's almost like one of the Greek Roman columns. You have them on the book, How well do you know your columns? Because I used to, especially around Melbourne, there's a lot of influence with columns, especially Grecian columns.
Absolutely.
I was, you actually probably know him, but I was on a date with a radio host and I point out the columns and I will say, oh, there's a Doric column. That one's Corinthian. You can tell this one's Ionic. And he just goes, you don't have to share that.
I admit I don't know my columns that well, but I would find that interesting because
Hold on,
I guess I've been very into...
That's Doric. That's a Doric. The last one's Corinthian because it's got the palmettes. The second to the left is Ionic. Boom! I liked ancient history. It's the first A I got in high school.
Nice. I actually, because I did a whole bunch of research on ancient Rome for the book, and I got really into it because I've always been interested, but never really, my high school history was Australian history, which, I love Australia, but it's not super interesting.
Well, it's also a bit ugly.
Yes. Well, yeah, there's that as well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed getting into the Roman history and getting to learn all of that stuff.
So why did you decide to do an entire book based on a Roman history and like Roman influences if it wasn't really your jam? Because usually, they joke about men what's your ancient Rome?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It was partly, well, even largely that I kind of had the idea for, I guess, the magic system and how I wanted it to interact with society. So I knew that I wanted to base it off a hierarchical society, and Rome is kind of the hierarchical society, and it fit in, I don't know, pretty much every single way. It was vast and had plenty of drama, and plus, yeah, like I said, I was interested in learning about it, so it was kind of a good excuse to go and listen to a 50-hour audiobook and not feel like I was doing it outside of work. Yeah, it just kind of fit. So.
Let's talk about that magic system. We have some people in the chat saying how Bernadette asks, how does will work? And then specifically, how is Lanistia able to use will to see?
Well, I think, in some ways that'll come up later in later books. I think, one of the things that I really tried to do with will is kind of abstract it a bit. Vis obviously doesn't use will throughout the book. So I didn't want to go into the mechanics of it too deeply because it can drag down the pacing and at the end of the day, it's, it still remains mysterious, I guess, but you don't need to know to understand what's happening in the story. You don't need to know the real specifics. It's kind of like I can drive a car without knowing how the engine works.
Yeah. Okay.
So I really made sure that I didn't go into the mechanics of it where I didn't need to.
But you could identify when it's being used with the eyes.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's right. And generally speaking, I think if you've read the book, you probably generally have a sense of the limitations and, what it can and can't do, and probably more importantly, how it's affecting society and how it's affecting the world, which is really all that Vis cares about at this point as well. It's more about, okay, well, what does he need to worry about in terms of will? How is it affecting his life, as opposed to what are the finer mechanical details of how it works. So
in book one, Vis has never seeded and he's never received will. So what is it about Vis remaining pure that's his drive, that's his ambition?
I think it's kind of, he just doesn't want to give in. It's, he obviously has this pretty terrible past. His family got murdered. by the hierarchy. Everything that he was and that he loved got taken away from him. And he's obviously a very strong-willed guy as well. And
pun intended.
He yeah, I think it's in the first book. It's they talk about what's the line you won't cross. And I think for him that's been the line that he doesn't want to cross no matter what. It's if I see my will, that's kind of it. I'm part of the hierarchy. I'm giving in to the people who killed my family. I don't want to be like them.
Mm-hmm. At the cost of pain and punishment. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. So that's his drive. Yeah.
Our book club, we're trying to describe Will, and one of the members said that it's like the Force. Is there an ode to truth there?
A little bit. I mean, I can see that. Again, it's more. It's expanded a lot in the second book, which you'll obviously find. But yeah, it's certainly with how it works currently. I can see that it's sort of it's like an invisible force. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously with different downsides and different. It's a lot more. You're having to give up effectively your life force to somebody else before they can even use it. So it's got much worse downsides than just feeling the force and then using it. But,
so it's like the Force meets highly addictive substances.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Good. All right, cool. Right. The ugly side of the Force. I do want to talk about one of the conversations we had a lot were the names. And I know that I've seen in other interviews, people just needing clarification on how to say the names. Is this a fuck you to everyone else for not getting Islington when they say Islington?
No. Not consciously. Look, I as a reader, when I read fantasy, I never look up the appendices. I never look up how to pronounce names, and I always pronounce names wrong. I just go, cool, this is the name, this is how I'm pronouncing it in my head, and that's how it is forever after. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I kind of do the same thing when I'm writing. So I was looking up all these Latin names, and it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'll use this. And then when it came time, and I didn't think of it. And then during editing, I had to do my my appendices and so on. And I'm like, cool, let's make sure I get these pronunciations right. And they were completely different. They
really?
Were just...
What were your OG versions of these names?
I said a lot of soft C's for a start. So Relucia and
Seesaw? Seesaw out the back.
Yeah. I said Olkisk. I think I said Olkiskor. And it's pretty close. It's like Olkiskor. Ciro was right. I said Eutychium, not Eutychium.
So did I.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
Praeceptor instead of Praeceptor. Stuff like that. It's.
Are you 100% sure it's a hard C on that one?
Pretty sure. Yeah. And I mean, I still have to go back sometimes through my appendices and go, okay, right, what was this pronunciation again? Because I had it, I wrote it for 2 years and I had these words in my head for 2 years. And then even after correcting myself, I can still never really remember. The hard C's are easy enough to remember, but a lot of the other ones I'm a bit hazy on still.
No, fair enough. They are your names, though.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's right. I can say them however I like.
That's it, yeah. Except my name. You can say my name properly, unlike the country that I live in. That's a gripe that I have.
How do they say it?
So in America, no, in Australia, I'm Maude Garrett. And
Yeah.
in America, I'm Maude Garrett.
Oh,
It's a completely different name.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that was
Maude.
different.
Yeah. Maude Garrett. Even Garrett. I'm like, Anyway, the next questions that I have, I've got quite a few. I really like this one. Oh, we've asked that one from Luna. As an author, who's your favorite character and why? Speaking of all these great character names, and who is your most challenging character to write? So your most favorite and the most challenging.
Cool. I mean, I guess the easiest one is Viss. Viss is probably my favorite character. He's the one that I'm spending all the time in his head. He's the one by far that I think about the most. Other than that, I'm not sure that I don't really have. Largely, I don't have favorite characters when I'm writing, other than Viss. I tend to have a favorite character in a scene. I'm like, this is working really well for this character, but I don't really think of them that way. Yeah, challenging to write. That's a really good question.
That was Luna. Luna also says, well, I'm going to buy you some time while you think of an answer. Luna said, also, thank you for this book. It's my favorite read yet and has officially made reading challenging as nothing else compares.
Lovely. All right. Challenging character.
Challenging character. Who we got?
Okay. I think it's probably maybe Lanistia. I think her backstory and her character, it's not for any particular reason, just getting that character right. And I think the way I write characters is that I think that every character kind of should be the hero of their own story, if you know what I mean, and have their own motivations and all that sort of stuff. And her story's quite. It took me a while to get her right. I think I kind of iterate as I draft, and she was. The basis of the character was there in the first draft, but she really kind of developed over time. So, yeah.
Okay. We're going full spoilers. If you haven't finished the book, we are talking about The Will of the Many. The ending.
Yep.
There's good Lord. I mean, there's the Sanderlanche, and now we're trying to figure out what the James Islington version of the Sanderlanche is. I'm going with Poke 'em in the Islington. Because it just happens so fast and you're like, ow, what? Can we, in detail, treat this as if it's a ending explained video? So let's go hardcore spoilers, and it may trickle, I understand, into this next book. But for the clarity's sake of the ending of the book, can you explain it for me? And
sure.
It prompted the discussion because Lanistia had lost her eyes and there were conversations about people's eyes being removed. And then we were left hanging a bit at the end. So just give me the ending.
Okay, so the ending. So we're talking about what was effectively the epilogue, yeah? With
yes.
Yeah. So it goes. It is the two sort of little epilogues are sort of switching back in time a little bit to when he went through the labyrinth and then the machine after the labyrinth. And the machine has effectively split him into three versions of himself. So he's the original still on Res, which is where the entire story of Will of the Many takes place. And then there are two other worlds. There's Obitium and Lucium. Which is another one that I mispronounced initially, with that hard C. So there's these two other worlds, and now he has a copy of himself in Obitium and Lucium, and that's going to feed into the larger story. There's actually the first chapter of Strength of the Few is actually online, and that actually does a pretty reasonable explanation of not everything, but it breaks it down pretty well, I think.
You gave us a recap.
Yeah, it's effectively what I just said. No, it's so the first chapter of Strength of the Few, he is following him in Obitium, so it's in a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he meets. I'm trying to remember whether this is a spoiler. I guess it doesn't matter. It's where he meets Searaw. He meets Ulkiskor's brother.
We did know that.
Yes. So Searaw was also split into three, but the version of him on Res died.
Mm-hmm.
So Searaw effectively explains in that chapter. He explains what's happening to Vis, and it all kind of picks up. It all kind of picks up from there. But Strength of the Few, again, sort of a spoiler, but Strength of the Few is split between those three different views. So
Okay.
it's all Vis, but it's the different versions of Vis.
It's Tris Vis. Yeah, three. Yeah, yeah. So there's been speculation that the Latin names of the Obitium and Lucerium
Lucium, yep.
Represent dark and light. Can you confirm that?
To an extent, yeah. That's certainly they're related to the themes of those worlds. Put it that way.
Is it in essence sort of like Res is Earth reality, and Lucium is like light, heaven, and then Obitium is hell, down, dark?
Yeah, I've actually read that theory, and it's not a bad theory, but it's not what I'm going for.
I thought I was onto something. Okay, what are you going for? Why don't you just tell me?
No, it's yeah. I mean, it's yeah. Without going too far into the second book, that's it. They are themed. So for example,
Okay.
Obitium is very much related to death, for example.
Okay.
So yeah, but you'll see.
I will very, very soon. Is he a clone or is it multiverse?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I would describe him, I guess, as a clone, as an exact clone. It is a multiverse in that those worlds split thousands of years ago, and then they've gone in different trajectories. So they were originally the one world, and now there's three. So it's multiverse from that perspective, but not multiverse from the perspective of there's infinite worlds and infinite possibilities and all that sort of stuff. There's still three very distinct worlds.
Is that the cataclysm that happened?
Again, you'll find out.
Me! I've got so many. This is the thing. When you write a book that poses so many questions, I'm going to ask the questions. I want to know. Can you explain to me the cost? So did Viz lose his arm in the Res world because of the bite? Or was it because, okay, haha! Okay, sorry, I got really excited. Was that the cost of the split?
That was the cost of getting into Lucium. So he loses it in Lucium, and there's an effect where he's effectively still tied together with his other versions, which is synchronism. And because it's effectively early enough in that process, the version of him on Res ends up losing his arm as well.
Okay. Do all versions of him now have no arm, or is Obitium complete?
the first chapter of Strength of the Few should answer that question.
Okay. I literally have it right here as well. Some more audience questions that we've got here. How would you describe, this is from Vaden, the morality of Viz? On one hand, he seems like a fundamentally good person whose altruism works to his own detriment. However, he's also very manipulative and ruthless in order to survive, as well as to accomplish his missions. So how would you describe the morality of Viz?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's effectively a good guy in a very bad situation. He's got a really good core, and he's sort of in the same way as he doesn't want to cede. He doesn't want to give up these values that he's had in his childhood and he's been taught by his parents. He doesn't want to give those up because that's sort of in another way giving into the hierarchy. So he's trying to be as good as possible, but then obviously there are just situations where he has to go into the grey because he has to survive. So I think it's doing what he can to be a good guy, but I think it's something I really enjoyed writing, actually, because he is someone who, given what's happened to him, he has every right to be angry. He has every right to kind of go dark, I guess.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that sort of struggle, where he's still trying to be a good guy. So yeah.
Okay. Academic says, I went back and reread your first series after reading this. Every technical writing aspect seems to have improved from that series. How much of this improvement do you attribute to time and experience? And how much do you attribute to storytelling, being first-person POV versus multi-person POV?
It's a bit of a mix. I think the shift in style really let me reset, and sort of think about things in a new way, which helped me improve a lot of aspects. But there was also, just after Lacanius, I think about 6 months after it came out, it was in the midst of COVID, I went back and I said, all right, I'm going to look at all of the sort of the 3 and the 4-star reviews of Lacanius. Not all of them, because there's a lot of them, but the majority of most liked ones, I guess, and just sort of see what the people who liked it but felt that it had flaws were saying, were the things that detracted, and that really let me go, okay, well, this is, maybe my prose needs to sharpen up a bit, maybe my character work needs to improve a bit, and so that that gave me a focus to work on for Will of the Many as well, which was great. It's never necessarily nice going back through reviews and looking for the negative things. And I certainly didn't go back onto the 1 and 2-star reviews, because you kind of go, well, these are the people that they just didn't enjoy the story, and that's okay as well. But they're probably not going to be giving the sort of
constructive.
That's right. So it was very much a conscious effort where I went, fresh start, fresh style. This is a really good opportunity to try and sharpen up some weaknesses.
Did you do the same thing for The Will of the Many before writing the sequel?
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. That's what I did for Will of the Many.
Sorry, I thought you were saying this is between the original trilogy, sorry. The first series that you wrote.
Sorry, I know I misunderstood then.
That's okay.
No, I didn't. I didn't really do that for Will of the Many and Strength of the Few. I did a little bit of a dive into the reviews. The reviews were significantly better for Will of the Many, which helped a lot. But given its success, and given that I really knew what I wanted to do, and I felt very confident about Vis's voice, I guess, at that point, I pretty much just went straight into Strength of the Few with the same mindset, I guess, as I did for Will of the Many.
Okay. Actually, being
Yeah.
online is an interesting concept as well. When people found out that I was interviewing you, some of them tasked me with getting you more active on social media. What is your relationship with social media at the moment as an author? Because I know it can be very trepidatious to even foray into that.
Yeah, look, I, back in 2014 when I first self-published, I looked up all the things that you're meant to do, and being on social media was one of them. And I went, cool, I'll make a Twitter account and I'll make a Facebook account. That's fine. But I've never been a social media guy. I'm not a fan.
Fair enough.
I think it's got some really good uses, and there's obviously there's some great spaces on social media, but um it's never really, I don't know, it's never really appealed to me that much for whatever reason. Uh and it feels like it would just be a time suck if I tried to get into it. I'm much happier during my work day. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go and do it in my off time.
Hmm.
And then it feels like my time during my work day is better spent writing. So
Fair enough.
yeah.
All right. So anyone who's asked me, he'd rather be writing is what I'll respond with.
Yep.
I like that a lot.
Perfect.
A lot of, especially in the marketing of this book as well, it's like if you liked A or B or C,
Oh, yeah.
you'll love
Yep.
this book. And that's
Yeah,
an
sure.
easier sell. And that's how a lot of fantasy and sci-fi readers especially are obsessed with it, and they want their next fix. I saw that you loved the comparisons that you were getting with like The Name of the Wind, and knowing the backstory that you have with Patrick, that makes sense, but
Yep.
also Red Rising.
Yeah.
What is it like sort of knowing that a successful book has like developed a whole fan base for you to kind of satiate their appetite on this kind of book?
Yeah, I mean that's awesome, because I really love Red Rising. It's one of my favorite series. And I'm very much, I've only read the first three, and I haven't read the next three because I'm waiting for Red God to come out, and then I can go all at once, because I know that I don't have the time anymore to do rereads. But
So
no,
you've not
I
read
love,
4, 5, or 6?
no, I'm being very cautious about, I don't want to spoil anything for myself. It's luckily, again, I'm not terminally online, so I don't necessarily stumble across stuff too much. But yeah, I've held off just because, yeah, I want to kind of do it all at once. But that's something I'm really looking forward to. That's if you probably the book that I'm looking forward to at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you got any words of
Um,
encouragement for Pierce as he works? Because this is the whole thing. It's about sticking the landing. Is The Will of the Many, the Heirarchy, is it a trilogy? And are you wrapping things up in this book? Because I'm sure that finishing a gigantic series, I mean, Pierce is on book 7 finishing it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I think Pierce is fantastic. Like his stuff is so good. And it's, it was reading reading Red Rising, years ago now, that made me go, oh, first person present tense. I love this. This is incredible. This can be done well, and it's such a it's just got so much momentum to the story. And yeah. The third book's not the last book. It's going to be 4 books.
Has that been announced?
Yes, it's one of those things where, so it's funny because one of the major, it's not really a regret, but sort of a regret that I had with Lacanius was the first book. When I self-published, I was like, right, what do I call this series? Let's call it the Lacanius trilogy. Great, done. And
So
then
it had to be 3 books.
So it had to be 3 books, and then like I said, I got to Light of All That Falls and started writing it. I was like, oh no, this is going to be 400,000 words long. If only I had a 4th book, the option of a 4th book to maybe keep on going. But I'd really named myself into a corner a little bit with that. So when Heirarchy first came out, or there was first being listed online, my publisher listed it as the Heirarchy trilogy, and I immediately went, "No, guys, take that down. Just call it Heirarchy. It's just Heirarchy. I don't want to say it's 3 books, just in case." And sure enough, I think it was towards the end of the second book, maybe even halfway through the second book, I knew that it was going to be 4.
Right.
And it worked really well with my outline anyway, which is another reason why I sort of insisted that we don't call it a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so this is not the last book. I've definitely got pretty strong plans for the last book, and I think this one's going really well as well. I'm very happy with the general outline of it. But yeah, one more to go after this one.
Oh, okay. So it's 4, and then that's it.
That'll be it. Yes.
Okay. That's very exciting. So that's like the next couple of years still of your life dedicating to
Very
this.
much so.
Cool.
Very much
Love
so.
it. We do have some other clarifying questions that we want from the end of the first book. Ali here, where was it? Actually, no, it was Chervone said, how did Belli get to the labyrinth? And how did Emissa get to the Heirachy when she could use will?
Again, I mean, Belli got to the labyrinth because she just went and did her own thing. She obviously she was with a team, but she basically left them. It wasn't any particular trick that she used for that. As far as Emissa being able to use will, it's not. I guess it's not super specified, but I guess it's implied at the end. She's been working with Viridius, and so yeah, she was effectively able to cheat.
Did she try to kill Viz?
Yes and no. There's certainly a reason that is not a personal one that she did what she did.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that is explained in the second book.
Okay. Is Viridius a good guy?
I think he's a good guy in his own head for sure.
What I'm going to ask everyone to do is replay that moment and slow-mo James's face, because James, I don't think you should play poker. So much happened in your face when answering that question. Okay, good to know. What other? I have like so many. There's just so many, and you've done it on purpose. Where at the end of this first book, because I went online and I saw explainer videos, and there are girls with whiteboard markers, and I'm like, great, like break this down for me. And so many of these ideas, and you've noticed some of these theories as well, which I love debunking as well, because that clears the path for what it really is. What were you about to say?
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say I'm just. Yeah, it's been great that it has, sparked all that discussion, because I remember finishing off the book, writing it, and it felt like such a big swing, I guess. Like it felt like it could go terribly, terribly wrong, and everybody would hate the way that it ended, and just go, this is nonsense, and this has ruined everything. And yeah, I was very nervous about that. So
I was certainly unprepared. I was unprepared for the ending. It was a curveball that hit me in the face. You love that, don't you? Okay, great.
I do.
So many other questions, but I've got a last one here, and we are wrapping up on time, so we'll get through the last of these quick questions, even though Academic writes essays for questions, saying Viz understandably vacillates between different courses of action, but for the majority of the book he seems to understand who he is, the Prince of Seuss, who won't use the dirty power of will. It's not until the end of the book that he partially rejects the understanding of himself. He still maintains his heritage, the conversation with his father at the end as a tip of the hat to that. But his choice to rise to be placed in governance indicates that he's no longer making the choice to avoid will usage. What's Viz's reasoning here? Philosophically, it's a smack of similar consequentialism that the Anguists were trying to drive him towards. It's okay to do atrocious things because it's for the good cause of toppling the hierarchy. But what has changed his understanding of will now that he views wielding it acceptable?
I think it's less that he wants to wield will, and more that he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to run away, I guess. He, after I think Calidus's death made a big impact.
Why didn't you kill him quickly? Why did it have to be slow, James?
I think he's sort of realized that running away and just trying to hide away from what the hierarchy is not going to be a satisfying life anymore. Like, even though it's sort of what he's been trying to do the whole time, it's, his situation's changed.
I feel like it keeps dragging him back in so many different ways as well. Like Sadoshia showing up in his life as now his stepmom. Like that, you can't avoid that one. I did have a question about that. Did he have a little bit of a crush on Sadoshia, only to realize it was his now his stepmom?
No, I don't think so. Other than no. Not
in this brain. But the academy, it's like all entwined in that. The friends that he's made, it's all entwined in that. Can we get confirmation? It's not Iden. What is the other guy's name? Who is the king of he's the president, he's the good guy, he's the jock, he's the number one.
Indol?
Yes, he's gay?
Yep. That's
oh, come on, Saved by the Bell with that one.
At the moment it's not specified. So, it's again, it's up to people to decide.
Do we get to learn more about Iden in the next book?
Definitely. Yeah, he's a major character for sure.
Hey, okay, fantastic. And Jeff wants to know, what's your favorite pizza topping?
Meat. Anything except for pineapple. Yeah.
Nah. Thought we were going to be friends, James. I was like, this is the start of a wonderful friendship talking about books, and you had to drop the anti-pineapple on pizza farce on me. No, well, lovely to chat with you the last hour. Congratulations on this book coming out in 1 month. Good luck with all the press that's going to be around that and all the interviews you'll get for it. I'll get you back on the show to tell us what the fuck happens at the end of book 2, because I already know the Poke Your Islington is going to happen. We really need to workshop what a Sanderlanche version of yours is going to be. Do we have any idea what we can call that yet?
I certainly haven't. I haven't seen anything that's appealed to me so far.
We'll workshop it and get something approved soon, because that something needs to take off. Because there is a Sanderlanche-esque thing happening here.
Yeah.
All right. So with that one, if you do want to pre-order the book, make sure you do that. James, what social media are you on, and where can people follow you online?
Twitter, Facebook. I have an Instagram, which is publisher run, but they pretty much just repost anything that I post on Twitter and Facebook. Goodreads, I do pay attention to Goodreads. I'll often post things there as well. That's kind of it.
Well, you're not on TikTok. Pretty sure I saw a TikTok video.
That's after my time.
I'm
too old for TikTok.
Off camera, there's a gun to your head and you're shaking, just trying to get it out. Got it. Market the book, James. Listen, again, if you were pestering him online, he'd rather be writing. All of the chat doing hashtag stronger together as well, which is a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me for a lovely discussion and an explanation of the ending of the book. Can't wait to dive into more of this one. And we'll be chatting to you very soon.